Ethiopia's Hayli Gubbi volcano has erupted for the first time in recorded history. It's thought to be nearly 12,000 years since it last erupted. The eruption covered nearby villages in volcanic dust and sent a cloud of ash drifting across the Red Sea. Plumes have already reached Yemen, Oman, northern Pakistan and India, where they caused flights to be cancelled. No casualties have been recorded, but officials say the livelihoods of livestock owners could be affected as the ash may reduce available grazing areas. Let's get more from Professor Juliet Biggs from the University of Bristol. She's co-director of the UK Centre for the Observation and Modelling of Earthquakes, Volcanoes and Tectonics. Welcome to DW, Professor. Why does a volcano suddenly go off after being dormant for thousands of years?
Well, that's a very good question. So the 12,000 years is the period where there has been no recorded eruption. But of course, there may have been eruptions in that time that we just don't have any scientific data for. So, for example, if you look at satellite imagery, you can see there's some very fresh-looking lava flows that probably are only a few hundred years old. So, although there are no recorded eruptions, it doesn't actually mean there haven't been any eruptions.
Okay.
But we have a pretty good idea of why it's started erupting now. It's very close. Its neighbouring volcano, Hayli, is persistently active. There's lava lake at the surface with lava bubbling away. And that actually erupted back in July. And it sent magma underground 30 kilometres south of Hayli, right underneath Hayli Gubbi. And ever since then, we've been seeing signs of low-level activity, low amounts of sulfur dioxide being emitted, small amounts of deformation, like a few centimetres at the surface. We can track all of this with satellite data. So we were aware that there was some low-level activity at Hayli Gubbi, but the explosivity of this eruption has really taken us by surprise.
Okay, and you've talked about seeing previous lava flows there. This time we're seeing dust rather than lava. Why is that?
Oh, it's probably a different type of magma feeding the eruption. Likely, we won't know for sure until we actually get some samples and analyse them. But the likely thing is it's more viscous and more gas-rich, and that's caused it to be much more explosive.
So how do you then go about researching something like this? So it's gone off. Do you have to sort of sit there and wait for it to cool down?
Well, there are people out in the field collecting samples of tephra that they can take back to the lab. But we're mostly focusing on the use of satellite data. There's lots of things we can track with satellites. We can see the ground is moving just by a few centimetres. We can measure emissions of gases like sulfur dioxide, and we can also see changes in the topography. Like we can see that there's a few craters that have formed already, and we can track the plume like this as well.
And does the fact that it's erupted now after all these years mean that it is more likely to erupt again in the future?
Well, often we see volcanic eruptions have multiple pulses, and they can last years or even decades. So there is certainly a possibility that this eruption is not over and there will be more pulses. But whether that's another explosion or more lava flows remains to be seen, and we just need to keep monitoring, looking for signs of change. And so we can react as quickly as possible.
And I mentioned in the introduction that this is likely to affect the livelihoods of people in the area, given that the ground is now covered in dust, reducing the area available for their livestock to graze. How does an area recover from something like that?
Well, it can take many years or even decades in some areas. The Afari tribesmen have spent a long time living alongside volcanic eruptions. This isn't the first one in the area. There was, as I said, Hayli erupted in July. Aludalafilla, further along the volcanic range, erupted in 2008, and Nabro was another big explosive eruption in 2011. So there is a history of these types of eruptions in the area, and people are able to adapt, but they may well need some assistance in the short term.
Good talking to you, Professor. Thanks so much for talking us through that. Professor Juliet Biggs from the University of Bristol in the UK.
All right. Thank you very much.